heard through the course of today about this digital world, this changing world that we live in. As I said to Helen over lunch, wow, it's almost as if somebody planned this, that all of these things would come together. Of course, it's been planned. And where we get to now in our thinking is, so what about the people in this space? What about the people in the digital world? Yes, we've got the technology that's there. Yes, we've got this new digital space that we're living in. But what's going on with people and how we engage with them? The title digital natives has been used by different people in different ways. Some people like it, some people don't. Millennials, Gen Y, these are all labels thrown around. It really, in my mind, is not so much about an age group as it is about an attitude. It's about people who are digital first. I'm a digital immigrant. I love technology, I enjoy it, I use it often, but it is still my third or fourth language. And I default to wanting sort of human connection, and conferences like this make sense to spend time with other humans. But digital natives default to digital first. And that's where they want everything. So, as I say, it's not really an age as it is so much an attitude, that they are never offline. They don't go online, they never go offline. And they're always connected. They've probably got that smartphone surgically implanted in their hands. And they are beginning to come into our workplaces. They've been in our homes for many years already. And they do learn differently. And that's really the theme of what we're talking about here, isn't it? That we've got different ways in which we need to do learning and development and training. And these digital natives definitely give us pause for thought. It might be even that we could think that they have almost a different DNA that makes them up. And we really need to ask, where does that come from? And what are those DNA elements? Now, in the short time frame that each of us speakers has been given, I thought I'd just talk about three. There are more available, and I'll give you a website address at the end of the presentation where you can go and download an ebook that our team has written. And it's a lovely thing about digital natives. It's all for free, so you can go and grab it. But I'll just pull out three things from that. The first is that they're going through a quarter-life crisis. The second is that we are living in a new world of work. And the third, and that's really going to be my focus, the theme of really a lot of what we've talked about today, is that we live in a technology-enabled world. And what does that mean? So first off, the quarter-life crisis. Now, people, the struggle is real, right? Okay, this is a real thing. We understand the midlife crisis and the Harley-Davidson, which is the official soundtrack of that midlife crisis. The buttons start to get undone, the chest hair becomes a little bit more... Sorry, that's not a ladies thing. Sorry, I'm talking... Apparently that's a male-only thing. Anyway, or maybe not, I don't know. Maybe that is the crisis. But we know the midlife crisis. The quarter-life crisis, psychologists are beginning to mark this out as a real thing. In your late 20s, these days, you go through this crisis of saying, is this all there is? You've done your studies, you've probably been in a job for 2 or 3 years, you look around and you say, really? Is this it? With all due respect, it's those young people looking at us going, is that my life? Maybe not you, I don't know, not everybody. And what we need to recognize from a learning perspective is that at that stage, they don't want to be made into a better worker. They don't want learning and development to help them be more productive, more efficient, to have more knowledge about the work they're doing. They're having an existential crisis. They're having a question going, am I stuck here? I need purpose in life. And part of what we have to recognize is that our role as learning and development professionals is not just to make better workers, it's to make better people. We don't need better employees, we need better people in our companies. And part of our responsibility is to look beyond the specific job requirements of what's been laid out in different departments of the business and go, well, what do these people need? What's going to make them feel valued and valuable and better people? And that's why a lot of people are leaving your businesses, because they don't feel like humans in your companies. And they want to go and find a place to do it. That's why many of them don't leave for more salary or for, just to your competitors. They're looking for something. Now, we understand the concept of doing training that isn't specifically related to a task-based outcome. Mainly because back in the 1980s and 90s, we discovered that almost every senior manager was pretty much a psychopath. Okay? I mean, this is true. You know this to be true. And we had to spend a lot of time and energy, and many of you made a lot of money out of doing EQ training to turn these people into some semblance of human beings. Mainly it failed, but anyway, at least we tried. Now, I'm using humor and hyperbole for hopefully a bit of effect, but I'm not exaggerating too much. We need to do the same for these young people. We need to recognize it's not just about training skills so they can be more efficient. It's about making them better human beings. And we know how to do this, but let's do it. The second thing I think is important to understand about these digital natives is that we are living at a remarkable moment in human history. I do think it's a once-in-a-500-year thing. At the Renaissance, 500 years ago, people like Leonardo da Vinci and others were discovering that a new era was dawning, a new age was dawning. And they began to look for the ideals in maths and science and philosophy and religion, and the ideals in humanity. And the Renaissance created the modern era that we now are recipients of. But I genuinely believe that we are at a moment that history will look back on and say that was a new Renaissance. A time when we fundamentally discovered that there was a new way to live. There was a new way to think. There was a new way to work. There were new ideals about what it meant to be human. And I think that the companies that discover this and work hard at this are going to be much more successful than companies that don't. And I think we're already beginning to see that. A new world of work is emerging. But many speakers over the last 2 days have focused on that. So they saved me a little bit of time and gave me the opportunity to focus on this third area. And that is technology. I don't want to just look at the tech, at the toys that we've got. We've already done that. I don't want to just look at the fact that we live in a digital world. Our team has done some research into this and tried to look beyond the obvious, to look at what's actually going on behind the scenes. And what we did was we took the companies that many of them, in fact most of them, didn't even exist 10 years ago. They have been birthed and born in this new digital era, and yet they are global companies, famous brands, household, daily use in our lives, and of course they are some of the world's largest and most valuable companies. How did they do it? How did they get there so quickly? And our belief is it's not the technology, it's not the fact that they are disruptors in their industry, it's the fact that all of them have tapped into a DNA. They've tapped into something or some aspects of this new Renaissance. And they have given that to us as both their customers and their employees. And because they have, we connect. So we went out to try and find out what were those elements, because that would be great to know those so that you could copy them. And this is the list that we came up with, and I think you'll find that at one level it's immediately obvious, but at another level it challenges us deeply. These are the elements that we believe these digital companies have all tapped into. And we think that if you're going to be successful as a company connecting with your customers, as an organization connecting with staff, as a learning and development professional putting together training and development programs, that you would do really well to do more of each of these 8 things. Now, I don't have the time to go into all of them in detail, so let me just do 3 of them and show you what we're on about. So personalization is a great place to start. You know, we have these supercomputers in our pockets, right? And every single one of your phones is different. There are 7.5 billion people in the world. There is not one single smartphone in the world that is just like this one, or just like the one in your hands. In fact, The very first thing you do whenever you download a new app is you personalize. You go to the settings. Most apps, when you switch them on, the first thing they ask you to do is to go through a series of customization processes. And we are having our DNA recoded by these digital companies to expect personalization. This is now an expectation. If we arrive at a particular place, if we do a certain thing and it is not personalized, it feels like it's from the old school. It feels like it's from long ago. It doesn't feel up to date. It doesn't feel good. We demand personalization. I see this all the time. I have 3 teenage daughters, 17, 15, and 12. I said we should give them names. My wife said numbers are fine. But whenever I watch them and what they do, you know, they'll download an app or a game, for example, and we often choose games to play together as families. And I'll be in the game, getting in, trying to work out the strategy, trying to work out how the game is played and what the winning strategy will be, and kind of half an hour later, I'm ready for action. Okay, who'll take me on? I'm good to go. And I look across at my daughters, and half an hour in, they're still trying to work out whether their avatar should have mint or turquoise trousers. You know, like in all seriousness, girls, come on. The game is not the personalization. But as far as they're concerned, it is. They love the fact that they can take time to personalize. And I wonder how much personalization you put into the systems you're creating. There's no excuse in the digital age. Personalization, we can do personalization of mass-produced products. I know this for sure because the greatest marketing campaign of the last 10 years, if you look at the numbers, is without a doubt this one. And it was based entirely on personalization. There are people who I know who have never drunk Coke, will never drink Coke, but they have a Coke bottle and a Coke can at home. Why? Because it has their name on it. In that photograph, I just noticed that the first one was Adam. I suppose that's right. So I don't know. Was the second one Eve? I don't see an Eve there. Maybe it's because they don't do apple-flavored Coke. I don't know. Anyway. No, it just struck me. Adam. Anyway, you've probably got your name on a bottle. Personalization works. We know this. It connects. And so what we need to be doing is understanding that our customers, from a business perspective, the staff from an employee, HR, learning and development perspective, they will feel empowered. They will feel connected. They will feel that this is a good thing the more you can personalize. So it's a very simple question, isn't it? In what ways can you increase personalization in everything you do? And if Coke can do it for individual Coke bottles, then I don't see what excuse you're going to find. And yeah, I know you can throw budget at me, and you can throw time, and you can throw resources, but all of those feel a bit like excuses rather than real blockages. It's just what we can do with it. Now, I realize those are real issues, but the question is the right question. How can you personalize more? And technology is your friend when it comes to doing that. So, personalization. Make sense? Excellent. The second one I want to have a look at is constant upgrades. You know, every time I switch on my phone, I have a look and I see, excellent, there's a new update. In fact, in the first page of my phone, in the top left-hand corner, in other words, my priority app, my number one app is the App Store. A little bit meta, but anyway, there it is. And every time I switch my phone on, there's a little number in the top corner that indicates there are a few apps that need updating. Now, I know some of you don't like that. And that's you're more on the maybe digital dinosaur side of the immigrant equation. Because you like your app just the way it is now. But you see, I don't. I love the updates. I love the fact that there's always something new. And I love looking at the new apps. Now, every now and again, they do an update and it breaks things. I play SimCity quite a bit. In the last update, every time I try and put a new park in my city, the thing crashes. It's really irritating. Those of you who know SimCity will know the pain. But they'll fix it. I'll give them a few days, and then I'll start moaning. But it'll be fixed. It'll be fixed by the weekend. And this is the back office to constant upgrading, is we need to experiment more. We need to make sure that we are constantly upgrading. And that means a few things in our mindset. First of all, if you want a culture of innovation and experimentation, you've got to accept that you've got to change the culture that exists. When Indra Nooya came in as the CEO of Pepsi, she said, right, I need an experimental culture. Here's what we're going to do. Nobody is going to get into trouble at Pepsi for trying stuff. Even if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. You can only get into trouble for two things at Pepsi. One, if you don't ask for help. So if something's going wrong and you don't know how to fix it, ask for help, then you're okay. And the second thing that you can get into trouble for is not giving somebody help when they ask for it. Other than that, go crazy. We want an experimental culture. Isn't that cool? So we've got some clients that are doing this. One of my favorites is a Swiss ski resort called Flume. And what they did last skiing season, so sort of December, January, February, is the owner of this resort invited 3 snowboarders to come and stay for free in one of his hotels, have meal vouchers for a few of his restaurants and pubs, and get a season-long ski pass. If you know anything about skiing, you'll know that's quite a cool package. So these 3 snowboarders, excellent. We were on board. Along they came. What was the payment? They had to produce an app for him every week. They were app developers. Over the course of 3 months, they actually delivered 31 apps to him. 7 of them he decided to trial, and he put them out into the public. 3 of them were used quite extensively. 1 of them made him more than 100,000 Swiss francs already. And he'll use those 3 again, and he will repeat this over and over again. Your problem in HR is you've got to go to your IT department, who will take 6 months to spec the thing, 5 months to fight about the budget, 1 year to design it, then it's got to go to legal and compliance, and by the time you get it, you resigned and moved to a different company, because good grief. This guy got 31 apps in 3 months. There is an app for that. Why don't you have it yet? It's because you don't have the mindset to say, you know what, and this is a big shift for some of you, good enough is good enough in the digital age. This quest for perfection is very much an industrial era mindset and needs to be left behind. It's the quest for the next. It's the quest for getting better. It's the quest for trying to be perfect. But you ship it when you go. This is a ready, fire, aim environment. Get going. Do something. And then do it better, and then fix it, and then do it again, and then upgrade it. And don't get stressed if it doesn't work the first time. Just do it better, and again, and do it again. So it's a simple question, isn't it? What can you do to experiment more? So what can you do to personalize more? What can you do to experiment more? And finally, we've heard this one already, but I thought I'd still keep it in because it is a big theme, gamification. We know this. And we know what gamification is now. A lot of people have talked about it. It's using the principles and psychology of computer games in the design and rollout of what you do. And we know that the games that you have in your devices tell us a lot about you, don't they? You know, I mean, if you've got Pokemon Go on your main screen, you're probably a young person. You know, if you've got Tetris, probably an engineer. You know, and Angry Birds, well, they play Candy Crush. Yeah. Some of you got that. All I'm wanting to say about this is we do. That you've heard other people say it, and I just want to say they were right. I hope you were listening. Because we have to build this in. And again, technology is your friend. And I think companies like Axonify and others are moving us beautifully into this space. My final one kind of leads me to my conclusion. We've got to get out of the way. We've got to remove the agents, the disintermediation of getting out of the system, giving people back control. The MOOCs, allowing them to choose their own training, giving them lots of options that they can pick from, guiding them rather than instructing them where to go next, assisting, helping. These are the things that we need to be doing. There's a different DNA in this world that we live in now. There's a new era emerging. Some of those companies have understood this, and your company can learn and apply these same principles as you connect and engage with those digital natives. This is not just about innovating a product here, a service here, putting in a new program here, designing a different course here. This is about a fundamental readjustment of your thinking. It's a change in the underlying structure of your business model. This is a systems-wide update that is required. And that's the only way that we're going to be successful as learning and development professionals in this digital age. So we're going to have some time to have some conversation about this and to get some of the wisdom in the room and a few questions as well. Let me just remind you that we do have something for you to download. That's the shortcut link, so the bit.ly shortcut link, and then LIA, 21st of September, if that acronym doesn't make sense to you. It might just be late in the day. But that's how to get a copy of these slides, as well as to download our free ebook. It was written by one of my colleagues, Ray de Villiers, with assistance from Nikki Bush, who's also in the room, one of our associates at Tomorrow Today. If you want to get hold of me directly, that's how to do it. This is a new era. This is a new world. It requires new thinking, not just a little update, but a systems-wide innovation of learning and development. Thank you.